The conversation your relationship needs most is almost never the one you feel ready to have. There's a particular kind of conversation that most of us know we need to have. It's the one that you keep meaning to bring up, the one you rehearse in your head drive home, the one that always seems to land on a bad night, a busy week, a wrong moment. It's not small talk. It's not a logistics conversation. It's the one that actually matters. And for a lot of thought people, that conversation keeps getting pushed, not because it isn't important, but because it is. This video is about how to finally have it. Not perfectly, not flawlessly, just honestly enough that something real can shift. What conversation are people actually avoiding? It's rarely about dishes. It's rarely about who texted whom back. Underneath the surface friction, there's usually a bigger conversation people are dancing around. It might be about distance that's been creeping in, or resentment that's been building quietly. Could be a need that someone has stopped even mentioning, or a pattern that keeps repeating. Maybe it's an effort imbalance that no one wants to name, or a hurt that never got properly acknowledged. The specific topic varies, the shape of it doesn't. It's the conversation when something honest needs to be said, and both people can handle it, even if neither one has opened the door. Why do we avoid the conversations relationships need most? Because they feel risky. We tell ourselves we're waiting for the right time, the right mood, the right wording. Often, we're actually waiting to stop being afraid of conflict, afraid of saying it wrong, afraid of what we'll learn about where we actually stand, afraid of making something fragile even more fragile. So we wait. And in the meantime, we tolerate small disconnections that add up. We start editing ourselves. We get a little more irritable, a little more light, a little more checked out. Here's the part that's worth sitting with. Avoidance protects short-term comfort while quietly damaging long-term connection. Surface peace is not the same as relational health. Resentment tends to grow wherever honesty is postponed. The conversation that you're having is rarely as dangerous as the avoidance itself. What makes a hard conversation go badly? Well, a few things almost every time. It opens with an accusation instead of an observation. It starts when one or both people are already flooded, tired, hungry, triggered, drinking, defensive. It tries to litigate the entire history of the relationship in one sitting. It includes mind reading, telling your partner what they think or feel or meant. It keeps score. It treats the conversation as a case to be won instead of something to be understood. When a conversation starts in prosecution mode, the other person almost always defends, not because they don't care, because defensiveness is what nervous systems do when they feel attacked. If you're trying to be heard, you always and you never are some of the least effective words in the language. Not because they're wrong, because they're closed. They invite argument, not conversation. How do you bring something up without blame or attack? Well, you start smaller than the whole problem. A good opener doesn't unload, it signals. Something like, there's something I've been sitting with, and I want us both to talk about it when we're both in a decent headspace. It's not an emergency, but it matters to me. That single sentence does a lot of quiet work. It names that something is there. It asks for timing instead of forcing it. It signals care instead of attack. It gives your partner a chance to arrive, not just react. From there, the goal shifts. You're not trying to prove a case. You're trying to describe, clearly and without cruelty, a pattern, an impact, and a need. What's been happening? How it's been landing for you? What you'd like to be different. 3 ingredients, 1 issue at a time. Clarity, by the way, is kinder than vague frustration. I felt distant from you for the last few weeks is more useful than something's off, said with a sigh. And ownership matters. You could say something's hard for you without making your partner the villain of it. What does a healthier version of this conversation sound like? It sounds calmer than you'd think. It includes phrases, I've been noticing a pattern and I want to talk about it. What happens, this is the impact on me. I don't think you're doing it on purpose. I just don't want us to keep repeating it. What I'd actually like is, it stays with one issue instead of raiding the archive. It allows silence. It allows discomfort. It doesn't require either person to perform. A healthy conversation is not a zero discomfort. It's one that hold honesty without collapsing into cruelty or shutdown. Matters. Timing matters. Nervous system state matters. You can't have a grounded conversation in an ungrounded moment. Sometimes the most mature move is, let's come back to this in an hour when I'm less activated. That's avoidance. That's stewardship. What if the conversation doesn't go perfectly? Well, it probably won't. You might say too much. They might get defensive. You might get defensive back. Something old might come up in the middle of something new. That doesn't mean the conversation failed. It usually means you've opened the door. Most relationships are not repaired in a single clean exchange. They're repaired across several honest turns. Each person comes back a little less armored than before. The first conversation is rarely the final solution. It's the first honest turn toward repair. Communication skill matters. Willingness matters more. And a brief important note, if your relationship involves abuse, coercion, or fear for your safety, that's a different conversation with a different standard of care. Please reach to a qualified professional or a trusted resource in your area. This video replaces that. Here's the part worth remembering. The conversation your relationship is usually not the one you're ready for. It's the one sitting underneath the tension, the distance, the irritability, the same argument you keep having in different costumes. Postponing it doesn't keep the relationship safe. It keeps the relationship stuck. You don't have to say it perfectly. You don't have to solve it in one sitting. You just have to be willing to turn toward it instead of around it. Less avoidance, less resentment, more truth. That's what the conversation is actually